What's up, everybody? Welcome into another new episode of the Rapala We Are Collegiate Bass Podcast. College fishing season get rolling here in 2025. We talked to the winners of the first Bassmaster College Series event here recently on the podcast. On this week's episode, we're talking to the winners of the second Bassmaster College Series event, this one taking place at Lake Okeechobee here just a couple weeks back. Brayden Batchelor and Quinn Williams from Georgia Southern got the win with 42 pounds, 3 ounces. Brayden, we'll start with you, man. First question here real quick. It's kind of how I start all the interviews when somebody wins a major tournament. Tell me what it's like, the emotions and everything, just a few weeks removed from it all. What's it feel like to get a victory here to start 2025?
Oh, man, like when you walk across that stage, and I'm a senior, so I've walked across that stage for 3 years I didn't even qualify for nationals. I'm not even going to lie to you. Like in college bass and Bassmaster, I didn't. So like I just had a rough go at it. And I was like, when we found this fish, I was like, man, I'd love to qualify. And then day one, we were sitting in fifth. And I was like, wow. And it's an amazing feeling. It really is. I mean, it's insane. Like when you've worked like as hard as I have I've been fishing since I was 10 years old. So when you finally get to walk across that stage and be on top, it's like the best feeling. It's the best feeling. So you feel like you've won the Bassmaster Classic, even though it's not even that big of a deal, but those college kids are good. So
Yeah, I totally understand. It's something that I still relive in my mind a lot now that I'm in my mid-30s. It sounds kind of ridiculous, but when we were like teenagers, our traveling baseball team won our first ever tournament, like to score the first run in the first championship game that you ever played in. Pretty cool emotion, feeling. Same kind of deal there at a different scale, obviously here at a major national level for a college bass fishing tournament, but the same juice is the same feel while you're out there as an athlete and a competitor doing what you love to do to be able to achieve that. Obviously a very good and rewarding moment in your career. Quinn, same question for you. I'll let you kind of express it in your words as well to be able to get the major victory there. What's it mean for yourself and the team?
Yes, sir. Before Ben says something, he caught the 7-pounder that won us the tournament. He's not going to tell you that because he's modest, but you need to know that. Sorry.
Yeah, it was an unreal feeling, and it was even crazier because that was my first college tournament. So it felt great to walk across the stage and win it, and I know it puts me in a crazy position to win my first college tournament, but it was one of the best feelings of my life, and I'm so happy we did it, and I'm so happy we got a win for the team because we got a great group of guys, and I'm happy that we got to bring it home to Georgia Southern.
That's pretty wild. We don't have any statisticians here. I just kind of keep stuff up off the top of my head and do research when I need to know something. But off the top of my head, we've been doing this podcast for over 5 years now. We're over 220 episodes, and this is the first time I believe that in the last podcast, the winners that won at the Harris Chain, one half of that team from Auburn fished their first college tournament and won. This week, you're fishing your first college tournament and win. Pretty cool. Awesome experience, very rewarding to be able to go out there and do that. Brayden, let's get into specifics now of the fishing. As we referenced the last podcast, Bassmaster was over in Florida at the Harris Chain the week prior. Bass weren't quite set up maybe like you would expect in January. The weather was cool. They were still out a little bit, not up, doing their thing shallow. Here, set up the conditions and what the fish were doing the week of the tournament.
Okay, so Sunday when we got there, we put the troll motor in the water, and we started fishing on the north end of the lake. And I started fishing there because I knew that there was a lot of north wind, and I thought that the water temperature up there would be better than down south because all that wind had been blowing down south. So we started up there, and the water temperature was like 53. Like, it was insanely cold. And I was sitting there, like, had a frog on the deck, had, like, all these different things. And I'm like, oh, no. Like, here we go. So 53-degree water temps, and it just only warmed up throughout the week. Day one of practice, we might have gotten 1 keeper bite or 2 keeper bites. And then day 2 of practice, we went all over the lake day 2. We put in at Monkey Box, and then we went back up to the north end of the lake in the Taylor Creek channel. And then we just we were looking for clear water, really. And we finally found some clear water. They gave us some hope, like in the beginning of day 2 and in the beginning of day 3, my bad. And at night on day 2 of practice, I was sitting there and I was just thinking, like, I used to fish Lake Seminole a good bit. And in order to find good, clean water to bed fish there, you have to find a backwater most of the time. So that's what I was thinking in my head. Like, okay, this place is so big, let me dumb it down like it's a lake back home. So that's kind of what I did. And we found a backwater on day 3. And my last cast in there was a 5-pounder that shook my chatterbait. And Quinn caught like a 2.5, almost 3-pounder. And I looked at Quinn and I said, put the rods up, strap them. We're going to go back to the truck and we're going to go home and rig rods and make sure we're ready. Like, this was 11 o'clock. So, like, we had 2 or 3 more hours of practice, but we had already found 2 backwaters. Before we found that good spot, we found another backwater that it had an LSU boat in there. But we were just like, like in Florida, you're going to fish around people. So, I mean, and we didn't have anything to go off of. So we finally, day 1 of the tournament, it got there. We got to our area, and there was a person in there from Florida Gateway College, and it was a solo. But we saw him. He probably caught 10, 12 fish, and then he left. And all of his fish were probably 2 pounds, 3 pounds, like 2.5, something like that. So like 13, 14 pounds is his max weight is what we thought. But then after he left, stuff got a bit crazy. We pulled in there, and the water temperature that morning was like 59 when we got in there. We were like, oh, that's perfect. Like, that sun's going to come out. There's a UV of 8 today. Like, it's going to make the water increase big time. And it did, because we had a warmer night that night, and it pushed a bunch of fish into our area, I believe. Like, not that night, but that day. That warm front at night, like, temperatures at night always matter more than temperatures during the day. Always. For spawning fish. Always. Like, it could be 65 during the day and 58 at night, and they'll spawn. But if it's 75 during the day and 39 at night, they're not going to spawn. So we found those. We saw the weather, and we were like, okay, they're going to move in that area, and we were completely right. Day 1, when that guy left, we caught 19 pounds. I mean, I think I caught a 7 and a 5. And then we looked at each other and we were like, let's go ahead and get out of here. We know we have a good weight. We know we're still in contention to win, and we got a good, like, qualifying bag. And I told Quinn the night before, I was like, there is a potential we go in there tomorrow and not catch a thing, or there's a potential we go in there and catch 30 pounds. Like, that's the kind of lake we're on. And we went in there, and it was just, we probably caught 45 keepers, 50 keepers on day 1 or day 2, and probably 20 or 30 on day 1. So, like, we really wore that area out. And when we got in there on day 2, the water temperature was 63 to start. So those fish were just funneling in there to us. I mean, that water temperature increased the whole tournament. And I literally, the other day, I looked up the BFL weights, and it took 31.9 to win. Like, so that place, when we left, it lit up on fire. So that water temperature helped us out all week. Just a slow increase. The night temps kept getting better. The night temps always matter more than anything, like I said. So
that's always the dream situation for an angler, is you're watching the weather forecast, maybe checking the moon cycle, different things, and you're just waiting for that right combination to happen. And it's just a matter of, are you going to be able to go fishing when it happens? And for it to happen during a major tournament like that, really awesome to hear you guys recount how it all played out. Quinn, we hear about the fish moving up, the temperatures rising, as Brayden talked about. As that's happening, what are y'all throwing at those fish? Because there's probably 2 different things going on. No, most likely not a lot really in the post-spawn phase yet, so they're pre or possibly actively spawning. What baits were you throwing, and kind of break down how y'all went about attacking them in that respect?
Yes, sir. So in the first day, early in the morning, I was throwing a June bug speedworm, and I believe Brayden was throwing around a chatterbait and a swim jig for a little bit, and we just stuck to those baits for a while. And then after a couple hours, we switched to a weightless fluke, and that's really what we caught every fish on for 2 days, was a watermelon red weightless fluke. And the first day I struggled. I think I was working the fluke too fast, and Brayden was slowly bouncing it off the bottom, and he was catching them a lot more than me the first day. And there was one point I probably sat on the back of the boat and cold fish for about 45 minutes, and Brayden would catch like a 3-pounder every cast.
Yeah, and they were all like 1 ounce away from each other, so it wasn't like we could just balance beam them or that fast. Like Quinn was sitting there like, okay, this one looks like this one. So I sat about on the back for the first day for about 45 minutes, culling fish for Brayden, and he was catching them every cast. And then the second day we came in there, we didn't throw anything else but a weightless fluke. Brayden caught one chatterbait fish actually, but we probably caught 50 fish on a watermelon red weightless fluke. And all early in the morning, we started culling the first 15 minutes. I mean, we had 5 fish right away, so we felt comfortable in the area, and we were relaxed, and we were just making as much cast as we can. And Brayden had a 5 and a 4-pounder pretty early in the morning, so we felt good. And we kept catching 3-pounders, and we really needed a kicker. So literally the last 20 minutes of the tournament, before we had to leave, I caught that 7-4. And it was the craziest feeling I've ever had. I was shaking so bad. I couldn't even stand up.
We'll get more. We'll get more into the specifics of that fish catch with my next question to Quinn, but Brayden, we'll bounce back to you really quick. Something you told me about that we want to make sure to talk about during the interview was a little bit of an omen or a sign while you were out there on the water. I myself am fairly superstitious in terms of, like, when I played baseball, you don't step on the chalk. My favorite team wins a couple games, whatever meal I ate, whatever clothes I was wearing, beverage of choice, you name it, I'm doing it again next game, hoping that it all works out. There's just kind of something as you go about just being either a sports fan or an athlete that as it's happening, you're just kind of looking for signs. And if it happens, if something happens, you want to duplicate it or just kind of look for anything that gives you a little bit of inspiration, maybe even. Something happened out there with y'all in the water in the particular area that you were fishing. Kind of talk about that and how that weighed on you for the week.
Yes, sir. Well, Quinn was saying like a minute ago, like he said, Brayden caught one on a chatterbait. Well, the way that worked, like, and I know this sounds like I'm talking about baits, but I'm really not, and you'll see where I'm going with it. But I saw a fish wake, and it was just out of reach of my fluke cast. And without even thinking, I dropped my rod and picked up a rod that I could throw that far. I didn't even know I was doing it. And like I threw it out there like perfect cast, let him perfect. Like the perfect thing. Like I didn't even mean to. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just meant to be. You know what I'm saying? And that 4-pounder waked over there and ate the chatterbait. I was like, man, it just feels like everything is going right. And day one, like I said, we left that area, and on the way in, we didn't see it. On the way in on practice, we didn't see it. On the way out of practice, we didn't see it. I don't know if it was just built. I don't know how long it's been there. But there was a cross when we came out on day one. And that just, I mean, it literally sent chills down my spine. Like, I was like, wow. Like, that's why those out of pocket things that I'm just dropping rods, picking up a rod that I haven't really even thrown as much that day. I just picked it up and threw it, and bam, he bit it. Like, it's just like when something's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I promise you that Jesus Christ himself made it possible that week, because like it just felt like somebody else was in the boat with us. Like we were making the right decisions. Like day one, we left early because we knew we had enough weight to contend or possibly win day one or day two. So we just made good decisions all the way around. And I mean, I pray every night. I make sure that I say my prayers, and he answered them, because I've been praying for one of these for years, and he showed me the sign that I wanted to see, and he told me where to go during practice. He helped me find that area. Like, I give him all the glory for sure. And that cross being there just kind of solidified it. Like, oh wow, like he is here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's awesome to hear. It's hard to be out in the outdoors like that, and if you're a person of faith, you feel God's presence, or just being out there is a true blessing time and time again to be out on the water. We're talking with Brayden Batchelor and Quinn Williams from Georgia Southern University. They got the win at Lake Okeechobee, Bassmaster College Series, second stop of 2025 over there on that trail. 42 pounds, 3 ounces for a 2-day total. On day two, The two anglers weighed in 23 pounds, 2 ounces, anchored by a 7+ pound fish that we've heard them talk about several times so far. Quinn, go into more detail now, maybe cast to catch of that fish and the emotions and just kind of realizing possibly what y'all had achieved by catching and landing that bass.
Yes, sir. So out in that area that we were fishing all day, we fished more in the middle of open water, bouncing the fluke around, and there was a little cutback that we went into the first day, and we didn't go there the second day at all. And the last 40 minutes of the second day, we were like, all right, let's sneak back in this cut and power pull down and cast around. And we went in there, and we caught a few little ones, and I was on the phone with our teammate checking up on one of our teammates who was fishing, and I cast my fluke out, and I'm just slowly twitching it on the bottom, and my phone's tucked up it between my ear and my shoulder, and I see my line start to take off, and I set the hook, and when you set the hook into a big one, it doesn't move, and I was like, I yelled at Brayden, I was like, Brayden, it's big, and he ran behind me and grabbed my phone out my ear and threw it on the ground. And then it started rip and drag a little bit, and I seen them flash, and I was like, "Oh my God, Brayden, it's huge!" And I fought him out for a little bit, and we finally got him in the net. And I just screamed so loud, and my teammate was still on the phone, and we could hear him yelling, and Brayden was yelling, and we weighed him, and it was just the craziest feeling that I've ever had. I was so happy, I couldn't even stand up.
He couldn't even make a cast after. He was like, wow, I'm messed up. I was like, dude, I don't blame you, man.
That's unreal. That's awesome to hear. I believe the folks that we had on the last podcast that won at the Harris Chain had big bass at the tournament. There was a little over 8 pounds that they caught as well en route to victory. And to catch a fish like that anchors your bag to accomplish a major goal like y'all did, it's really cool to be able to experience and also hear it on y'all's side of the story and just, you hear the raw emotion. It's really awesome. Brayden, this year for the Association of Collegiate Anglers here at Bass Pro Shops Collegiate Bass Fishing Series, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary. Going back through some of the archives and things, Georgia Southern's been around a while. They've got an established club. They've had some success throughout the years. I've gone through some file footage and different items and have seen them competing out on our trail and having some success over the last 10, 12, 15, 20 years. Talk a little bit about the club, maybe some backstory or history that you know about the team, and just kind of inform people who maybe don't know a lot about the team there at Georgia Southern. Just tell us more.
Yes, sir. So Georgia Southern, like you said, they've been around. Like, our fishing team has been around for a good little while. Probably like you said, about I would say steady going at it and putting like 3 or 4 boats at each tournament. I would say for probably 12 years. So 12 to 15 years. So I'm actually the president of the team. So I've been the president just for this year, and I was the treasurer in years past, but we actually had like a kind of a leadership change halfway through the year one year, like based off some stuff that was just not done correctly. But ever since then, like we got like all that out of there and got the like good vibes in the team, and it's just felt like a family ever since. Like we go out to eat, we check in on each other. We're in a bunch of group chats together. We just do everything together. And last year, the way that Bass did the scheduling, we sent 3 boats to one trail and 3 boats to the other trail, and that kind of separated the team a little bit, so to say, and that made it to where like we didn't see each other as much. But this year, all 12 of us are on the same trails, same everything. We're all fishing or mostly everyone's fishing all of the Bassmasters this year. So we've definitely come up a lot in the past, I would say 2 to 3 years. But we have an amazing set of sponsors. Spike It, they've been our sponsor for who knows how long. Those people and we had some new freshmen come in, and their dads or their families own companies, and then they stick their necks out for us and give us a bunch of money. It's like the school doesn't help us at all. So we kind of have to, the school hasn't even recognized that we won tournament. So, and I don't really see them doing it either. But I mean, we make all of our money through sponsors, through fundraising, through I mean, just we do like percentage nights. We used to do those a good bit. So we're just a really good team. And the thing about us that's kind of different than, like, say, the Montevellos and all them, we don't have a bunch of lakes down here. We don't have anything but the Savannah River. And we have to come together, not just fishing. We come together as good friends on and off the water. So I think that does a lot. Like, yeah, those Montevello teams are really good. They always catch fish, and they just develop a brotherhood over fishing. But I think when you have a brotherhood with a bunch of people over not just fishing, but everything, like, y'all are just, you're like a family. You feel like you're traveling with a big family, and that's how it is at Georgia Southern. And I mean, we're looking for people to recruit this year for the next year. So if anyone is interested listening to this podcast, please give me a call or send us an email or something, and go to our Instagram. Our Instagram is Georgia Southern Fishing, and look at that, and our contact information is on there, so you can just message us and let us know if you want to join the team next year. So yeah, I thank you for letting me talk about the team, because they are a great group of guys. I mean, and that every one of them guys deserve to be there just as much as me and Quinn were. I mean, and more. Like, those guys, they work their butts off too, and they deserve to be in the situation that we are in, for sure.
Quinn, last question coming your way. We'll kind of build upon what Brayden responded there in regards to the team. Talk about your experience in college as part of the Georgia Southern team and as an angler out on the National College Trails. Just your experience, how you got to that point, and what you've liked about it all so far.
Yes, sir. Well, I fished some smaller tournaments down in Florida, where I'm from, and nothing big, just with my friends having fun. And I came to Georgia Southern. I'm a junior now, so I've been here 2 years, and I met Brayden through some construction classes that we're taking together, and I knew he was on the fishing team, and this year he needed a partner, so he reached out to me, and now we are our partners, and I'm happy he did, because it's been a great experience, and meeting I didn't know a single person on the team, and after the few months that I've known them, they're some of my best friends up here. We all look out for each other, and they looked when we won that tournament, they were so happy for us and ran up, and we were all hugging each other, and it was definitely one of the best feelings that I've had. And it's a great group of guys to be a part of. So it's been a good first year, and I'm excited to fish again next year.
As a tournament director and the weighmaster here for our series, it's always awesome, and the video editor kind of piggybacks on stuff I'm currently working on, but get to see the moment, the winning moment, and being able to see teams there like our current show working on, and that the AFCO Collegiate Bass Open, University of North Alabama wins, and their whole team has stayed to watch the final day weigh-in there to celebrate with them. So to be able to hear that moment, it's really cool to hear about the bond that these teams build out on the trails, traveling the country, and then to see the success from one another. That's just really amazing. Guys, thanks for taking the time to join us here on the podcast today. Best of luck the rest of the season, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Doing it.
Welcome to Minnow King. How can I help you?
Everything looks good. I'm friggin' starving, man. Been spawning all morning.
Ugh, TMI, bro. What do you want?
I'll take a Crush City freeloader and gizzard shad.
Anything to drink.
Water.
Pull ahead, please. Welcome to Minnow King.
We're gonna have what he's had.
Yeah, throw me in a net BLT, too.
Pull ahead, please.
Calm down. Quit feeding him so much.
Oh, yeah, man, I'm trying to, man. If you
If you overfeed him, he's gonna hide under a log.